Well, I recently got a message on YouTube from Brian, and he's asked me if I could go into what the cost is for living this lifestyle. So it's a little bit variable because it just depends on what way you want to do it. I own the boat. I've got no outlay for paying the boat off. I maintain the boat myself, so I've got no outlays for mechanical work or boat work on the boat. So that's going to make a huge difference if anyone's looking at getting into this sort of lifestyle. But what I've done, I've gone over my expenses for the last 12 months and I've just listed them down, so it'll give you a pretty good idea of what it costs me to live the life I live. So I've put it down into some different categories. I've got fuel, maintenance, marina costs, groceries, and that includes grog, cafe and dining, so that's coffee and dining out, comms, which includes my phones and internet connection, travel, which would include using taxis or trains or planes to fly somewhere, insurance and registration, which are pretty fixed but go up every year, and then health and medical. So there's health and medical costs come into it. And I've also put one in there called filmmaking, which is really my hobby. So you could put that down as whatever your hobby is. So let's get into it, and I'll go through the different categories and explain how I do it and what you could do differently. So fuel, in the last 12 months I spent $6,144 on diesel fuel. I don't use petrol anymore because my outboard is electric, so I don't have that expense, but that $6,144 is totally on diesel. Now if I'd have gone back 2 years, that would have been half, because the price of diesel of course has gone up at least by $1 a litre in the last 12 months. So fuel is becoming quite a big cost. But $6,144, this boat only has very small engines. The motors on Peggy-Anne are about 42 horsepower each side. They use 3.2 litres an hour at 2000 RPM. So with both the motors running at 2000 RPM, I'm using 6.4 litres per hour. This equates to about 1.3 litres a nautical mile. If I look at the speed I do under just motors alone, about 5.5 knots, but with the head sail I'll do 6.5, 7.5 sometimes. So the head sail definitely gives me a bit of a benefit on saving a bit of fuel. So in all my calculations I bring it back to how many litres a nautical mile, and over the last 12 months the boat has used about 1.3 litres per nautical mile. Maintenance, I've spent $9,576 on maintenance this year. Now bear in mind that the general maintenance costs are probably lower. I did put the Ray Marine gear on the boat this year. That happened earlier in the year, and there was about $4,000 odd went into installing that Ray Marine gear. Now, as with everything on the boat, I do my own maintenance. So the Ray Marine gear, if you look back through the videos, you'll see how I installed that with my mate Bruce down on the Gold Coast. Actually, Bruce did most of the work. I went away for a couple of days and Bruce installed most of it. But I'm pretty capable of doing stuff like that. So the maintenance cost, $9,576 on an average year. You could, and there's never an average year. If you went back 12 months, I was going to say it would probably be cheaper than that, but then 12 months ago I installed the lithium ion on the boat, and that was about $10,000 worth. So if you want to keep the boat in good order and running properly, you're going to spend, I'd say, at least $5,000 or $6,000 a year on maintenance costs, and that's if you're doing the maintenance yourself. if you're employing a mechanic or an auto elect to come and do maintenance jobs on the boat, you're probably looking at least $100 an hour for those guys, so you could probably double whatever those maintenance costs are if you're not doing the work yourself. Now, Marina Fees came out to $8,600, and this, I guess, is a little bit on the high side, but I use marinas when I want to or when I need to. If I've got to leave the boat for any time, I can't leave it on anchor or tied up at a jetty or something like that. It needs to be in a marina and somewhere secure, so I'll make sure I'm in a marina before I leave the boat. When I was down in Tassie earlier this year, there were quite a few Marina Fees associated with that. Late last year that was, so there was quite a bit of Marina Fees while I was in Tassie, because I was doing the Wooden Boat Festival and I had to have the boat tied up in a marina. But $8,600 in Marina Fees, and marinas are also getting quite expensive. The further north you go, the more expensive they get. So Tasmania is probably the cheapest place in the country as far as marinas go, and the Whitsundays are probably the most expensive, or Cairns. So $8,600 in Marina Fees. Groceries, you've got to feed yourself. You've probably noticed on the channel I don't fish. I could supplement my intake of food by catching fish, but I choose not to. So groceries cost me $8,448 a year. This comes down to $704 a month. And I don't know, I don't skimp on food, but I don't eat extravagantly when I'm bored either. Pretty basic meals. I do like to buy better cuts of steak if I'm going to eat steak, but I'll eat sausages and all the cheaper cuts as well. And yeah, that's how I do it. You could probably cut down on that if you could catch a few fish, and I know a lot of people on boats live totally on fish, and good on them. You can cut down a bit of an expense there. Now that also includes grog, and I haven't put grog in its own column because I buy probably a slab of Great Northern a month. So $50 a month, that would be my grog expense. If I want to drink rum, I make my own rum. That costs me $1 a litre, so I wouldn't put that into the calculation anyway. But I do like a beer, and one carton of Great Northern will do me for at least a month. Cafes and dining. So, you know, especially when you've got someone on the boat with you, it's good to dine out. And I do like to have a coffee when I'm near a coffee shop. I'll usually find a coffee shop and go and have a coffee in the morning. You've probably noticed that. Anyway, cafes and dining cost me $9,372 this year. That's $781 a month. So that's something you could really cut back on if you wanted to. A lot of people have said you should put a coffee machine on the boat. Something you could do, but look, I really like going out. It's part of the thing is to get into a cafe, be served your coffee, and see what's going on. So yeah, that's something I could cut back on if I really felt there was a need to do it. Okay, next column is comms. Now what I've put in there is my phone usage, my phone plans, my internet plans, everything like that, and that comes out to $2,376 per annum, or $198 per month. A little bit on the high side, but I'm using the internet quite a bit. In the next couple of weeks I'm going to Starlink, and I think that should bring that cost down a little bit, maybe. Probably not, but I don't think it'll go much over that either. So that's something you can't really adjust much at all. Travel, now this will include taxi fares or Uber fares, train fares, plane fares. I spent $1,596 in the last 12 months, $133 per month on just sometimes getting around. Most of the time when I'm going anywhere I walk. It's nothing for me to walk 6Ks to pick up parts or do something like that, but on the odd occasion where it's a little bit too far, I will use Uber or a bus or a train for, you know, you're traveling around the country. Okay, next column is registration and insurance. You can't get away from this. The insurance costs me about $1,800 a year on the boat, and the rego is about 400, I think, roughly. But anyway, it comes out to $3,288 per year. Virtually only insurance and registration, that's all that's in that column, and that's $274 per month. Now the other column is health and medical. I don't see a doctor all that often. I don't have private health cover, but I do have to buy medicines. I am on quite a few pills. As you get older, you tend to rattle a bit when you walk, so there's a few medications I'm on. They cost me $80 a month, which equates to about $960 per annum. And I am on a reduced rate for the medication I take because I'm a pensioner now and you get cheaper medicine. So some of the benefits of being older, I guess. Okay, the last column I'll put down as being filmmaking. That's my hobby, so I make these videos. I like doing it. I love the fact that you guys like watching them, but it's just what I do in my spare time. I have my daughter on the boat with me at the moment, and I haven't really been doing much as far as editing goes, but when Emma leaves, I'll be back into editing up all the clips I've taken over the last 2 or 3 weeks to put some videos together. It's not usually very expensive. It's a pretty cheap pastime. I've got it down at being $2,220 this year, but that's $185 a month. But take into account that I did lose a drone this year, so there's about I think it was $1,400 worth of drone went into that 2,220. Usually there's not that much, although I am getting to the stage where I do need to buy another action camera. I'll probably do that in the next month or two, and that'll be probably another $500 or $600 worth. So it can be a little bit expensive buying the gear, but once you've got the gear, as long as you don't put the drone in the water, it tends to last pretty well, and yeah, it's not a big expense all over. So they're my costs. Okay, that's how I do it. Now I know people that live on boats would do it for half that much. They'd probably catch fish. They'd probably never go into a marina ever, and they probably save on fuel by sailing. I don't do that. I really can't do that, but I don't do that. They probably don't go and have coffee every morning or second morning as I do, and you can save a few bob there. So you can do it a lot cheaper. I don't really like the idea of being tied to trying to do it as cheaply as I can. I'm self-funded retiree, so you know, I've got a little bit behind me there, and I can afford this lifestyle. So it all works out to be $52,580 a year that I spend supporting this life, and that works out to $4,382 a month. And as I said, people would do it probably, I know some guys that would probably do it for $4,382 a year, but you've got to really work pretty hard to do it that way. So look, I hope this gives you a bit of an idea on what the expense of living this life is. I don't think it's over the top. I don't have a house that I have to look after. The only thing that I have to actually, that costs me money, I do own a marina berth on the Gold Coast, and I have to pay body corporate fees on that. That's another probably $3,000 a year that I've got to pay as outgoings on that, but I don't mind that because there's always somewhere for me to leave the boat if I really need to. So that's my safety valve. If I get sick and need to leave the boat somewhere, I've got my own berth on the Gold Coast. So that's the way I do it. I hope it's helped you guys. Look, if you're thinking about getting in this lifestyle, it can be as expensive as you want or as cheap as you want. I think if you had a bigger boat with bigger motors, your fuel costs, you could look at probably quadrupling them. If you're running a boat with big motors, I'd say you'd be looking at 20 grand a year in fuel easily. But if you're on a sailboat and don't use your motors much, you could probably take that down to a couple of $1,000s for fuel a year and run it quite easily that way. So hope it gives you a bit of an idea of the expense in getting into this life. The only thing I can say is if you're thinking about it, just do it. And don't forget, once you start doing it, stay out there till you can't. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one, dudes. I guess you noticed I don't do Patreon, and that other stuff that helps you make $1. But there is a way you can help. Just hit this little button here and ring the bell. That'll notify you when I post a new video, and it really does help me get the channel out there. Cheers dude, see you next week.